Welcome to The Creative Influencer, where we discuss all things creative with an emphasis on influencers. The Creative Influencer is hosted by John Pfeiffer. John is an entertainment attorney in Santa Monica, California, who represents influencers and other creatives.
This is episode 10 of the 7th season of the Creative Influencer podcast. Today we interview Bob Bowdon. Bob is the CEO of VidaFair, a content monetization platform that allows creators to set their own fees for their content. Bob has experience as a television reporter, TV producer, talk show host, and documentary filmmaker. Bob also talks about his experience as a recurring character on the Onion News Network and shares a story about a Ford news agency mistaking an Onion story for real news. Bob shares his vision for the future of VidaFair and gives advice to creators on how they can promote their content. This was a fun interview, and I'm sure you'll get some helpful pointers as well. I am joined today by Bob Bowdon. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
And we had talked before we started recording that we would do a dog introduction. So let me get Carnegie.
People love it, John. Oh, let's see Carnegie.
Oh, Carnegie. This is Carnegie.
Wow. How much does Carnegie weigh?
40 pounds.
Okay.
He is a rescue.
So it's going to be a bit tougher. So Mo weighs 90 pounds, but I'm going to do my best right now, okay?
Okay.
Come on. Hey, Mo, come here. Come on, Mo.
Oh, God.
Here he comes. Oh, good boy. All right. Now we got to get him over here. Come here, Mo. Come on. He's confused as to what's going on. Hold on, Mo. Hold on. Ah! He's a big boy. There he is. There's Mo's first appearance on a podcast. Right, come on.
Okay, I'm going to put you down, Carnegie.
Okay.
Oh. That's a first.
That might have been the strongest start to any interview in my career, so I appreciate the indulgence.
That was fun. And I did see in one of the headshots that were sent over, it was you and your dog. So it is appropriate that we have him.
Apparently, I'm shameless when it comes to Mo promotion. His name is M-O-E, like the Three Stooges.
So you, I forget which one. Oh, it was Curly that doesn't have hair. Okay, that's right.
That's correct. Yes.
So you are the CEO of VidaFair, and we want to talk about that.
Indeed.
But in preparing for this, I found that you also have a recurring character on the Onion News Network. And for those who don't know about the Onion News Network, I found 3 headlines just to set the scene. One of them was breaking story, so no new reporter literally has no information. Deadly super rainbow tears through the West Coast. And mother shows how video games radicalized her son to run around and pick up coins. So with that backdrop of what is Onion News, who's your character?
So I used to do that. That was a few years ago, but I included in the list because people get a kick out of it. My character was Brian Scott. I was an on-the-scene reporter. So they first did these videos as a YouTube channel, the Onion News Network, and then they got 2 seasons on the IFC cable channel, and I was on both of those seasons. But yeah, we did all kinds of silly news stories that that usually people understood right away was satire. Yeah. But I will tell you, there was an occasion once where the Chinese government-run news agency didn't understand that an Onion story was not real, and they basically reported on the Onion story as if it were real, and they got so embarrassed and so much mockery online about it. The next day, they ran a story that said, do you know that in America there are news organizations who are paid to lie? that was how they justified their error.
Well, I teach a class at Pepperdine on media law to the undergrads. And when we talk about the FCC, I have an Onion News where they're purporting to interview somebody at the SEC on why it's okay to show nudity. and how they're changing their policy. And we're about a
For the
minute.
Securities and Exchange Commission, yes,
like,
right.
where did this come from? So anyway, so let's talk about your company. So when did you form your company?
Well, it was formed really kind of during the pandemic, and we, took a couple of years to build out the technology for it. And then once you do that, I learned that then you have a working but completely empty platform. So then we needed to get some demonstration content on there, because a lot of people don't want to be the guinea pigs of their content on a platform they never heard of. And we're kind of now past that phase, and we're now ready to scale. That's part of why I'm doing interviews right now.
And you also, I saw, have a degree from Purdue and Stanford, which I guess would make sense given, well, what are your degrees in, and then how did it help you with this platform?
Sure. Well, mechanical engineering undergrad at Purdue, and then an industrial engineering and engineering management master's at Stanford. How did it prepare me? I mean, I think thinking analytically, I also did coding in some of those years. It was a few years ago, I'll say, John. It wasn't yesterday that I did my higher education.
You notice I did not ask what year.
I'm sorry?
I did not ask what year.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah. But that said, you'd be surprised that while my coding skills aren't at all up to date, you might be surprised how many concepts still pertain to basically the logic structure of building a platform and writing code and whatnot. And and then after that, I had most of my career was in the media. I've been a television reporter and TV producer and talk show host, and I was a documentary filmmaker, and then, as you mentioned, a little stint in comedy reporting. So, but most of my career was in media with that kind of technology front end to those years. And so they kind of both play into this startup called VidaFair.
Now, a lot of my clients have subscription accounts, different subscription platforms. What is the concept behind your company on kind of moving away from subscription platforms?
Thank you. That's my favorite first question to start with, because I am sick of subscribing to things, content especially. It's one thing to subscribe to like a cell phone plan or something, but content subscriptions, I'm sick of them. I'm sick of forgetting to unsubscribe to content I no longer watch, and most people are. I saw some sort of survey where half of America will just shut their brains off immediately if you pitch them on subscribing to anything else, yet another new content service. So while I suppose there's a place for subscription monetization of content, that people want to pay once a month for Netflix or HBO or something else, Patreon subscriptions, for example, there is at least hundreds of millions, I would say, of potential customers who would be happy to pay for content for someone they really like and really want to support. But they would not be happy subscribing. They just want a way to pay without a subscription monetization, which could be either paying a la carte, just a one-off payment to rent content this once, or if they want discounts, they can buy a package of what we call our grain tokens. But it's basically to pay once, and you distribute the financial transaction costs over many more rentals. So it's kind of the way of being a volume discount. It's a way of providing a volume discount to people without ever subjecting them to this repeated payment that happens every month on their credit card. Does that make sense?
It does. And I looked at, I looked at the videos on your page, or on your site. It's not a page, but on your site. And they tend to run from 99 cents to $2.99 as a general rule. I mean, I'm overgeneralizing, but that's kind of what it is. What I was reading about it, the creators decide what to charge. How do they pick what to charge?
Well, the concept of VidaFair is, I'd like to actually ask you or any of your listeners to think about it. How would you design a content monetization platform from scratch to be as fair as possible to all parties? And that was essentially what we were trying to do, and originally what I was trying to do. Just how from the top down, if you had a blank piece of paper, I was going to bring a blank piece of paper as a prop here, and I forgot. But if you had a blank canvas, I'll use that metaphor instead. I mean, how would you design it from scratch? Number one, I would say let the creators set their own fee. Why? I don't know how much time they put into a project, how much money they put into a project. I don't know the duration of projects. Obviously, could be anywhere from 2 minutes to 2 hours. The idea that any sort of outside group would top down instruct, I mean, everywhere else in society, people, you know, if you have a sandwich shop, you set your own pricing for your sandwiches. If you, anything else, we sometimes talk about this kind of being the Airbnb of content, where in Airbnb, you set your own price to rent a condo. Here, you set your own price to rent content. So the idea is to create basically a marketplace instead of any kind of top-down direction on how they have to price their work.
And how long did it take you, when at the top of the interview, you were starting to say about building it out and then getting content on it. How long did it take to build it out first, just to get the platform? And then once it was built out, how did you let people know about it so they knew this was an option?
Sure. So, you know, it's first of all, it's not easy taking on big tech, as you might imagine. Really, it took longer than I thought. It really took a couple of years, I would say, to get the platform built and stable, because between you and me, first, you know, I hired a group to do it. And then the first thing they did is hired a subcontractor of programmers in India to do essentially
all the time.
Right. So then the next thing you know, they start fighting with each other. Next thing you know, they're not even talking to each other. Now I'm talking to the Indian subcontracting group, and I'm talking to this group in Brooklyn independently. And then eventually then I basically had to just throw it all away and start all over. I had to pay everybody off, start all over, hire a new company, new programmers essentially. And so I'm confessing here that I may not have done it the most optimal way. But
well, let me say this. I don't know anybody that really does.
Yes, fair enough. Yes. So then I found some great guys and hired them. And so, yeah, to answer your question, it took about a couple of years. But understand, we have an iPhone app, we have an Android app, we have a website, and we have, you know, financial transactions going on. So in other words, we have people can use credit cards. We have a banking interface, in other words, as well as, so we had to work with everything from financial institutions to the Apple App Store and Google Play to get everything working together. And so it wasn't particularly simple.
Which came first, the app or the website?
The website came first.
Okay.
Yeah,
and then which came first, the Android or the iPhone app?
They were developed simultaneously, but we kind of leaned. I have to admit, I just have an iPhone, so maybe I'm biased. But usually, if there's, yeah. What can I say?
Yeah. So, how long has the app been up or available? Excuse me.
You know, year and a half, 2 years, something like that.
So you've had a chance to see which is drawing more traffic. Which draws more traffic, the apps or the website?
You know, I was surprised at how, you know, maybe I'm a dinosaur, that I'm still kind of computer centric in certain things. I guess I have to check myself, because maybe it depends on what activity I'm considering. But generally, when I'm looking at content, I will watch it on a TV set or a laptop. For something like video, most of the time. Anyway, all I'm trying to say is that it surprised me how the apps, both Google and Apple, were combined about 2/3 of our traffic, or like much more. I kind of thought it would be the other way around. So, but there it is.
Yeah, I'm actually not surprised, because neither one of my sons have TVs.
Right. Right. But even just a computer, I mean, do they have laptops, or do they?
No, they have MacBook Pros.
Okay. Well, yeah.
So how did you get the word out to the creators?
Well, you start everywhere we can. We had, we would go to film festivals and have receptions for filmmakers. We advertised online on everything from Google search to social media ads that, you know, pertain to content creators. You know, I say filmmakers a lot because that's just the kind of content we launched with. But all along, it's been our view, because you have to pick something really. But all along, it's been our view that we wanted to be more the YouTube that has a pay-per-view feature, rather than thinking of ourselves as a Netflix that has a pay-per-view feature. In other words, we see ourselves as not film specific, even though the majority of our content right now is independent film. We see the future of VidaFair as being podcasters, as being people who want to do any kind of show, from a cooking show to I just talked to a guy who does, bicycle tricks, like on half pipes and stuff, and spins his bike around. We have an investor who's done content for us, investment advice. So our view is that there's no reason to limit the content to just independent film.
How many of the creators on the site are one-off videos versus series?
So that we have a number of comedians, and they are all multiple uploaders, whereas a filmmaker is probably half of the filmmakers, maybe more than half, maybe 2/3 to 3/4 have just one film that they've uploaded, and that's it. Yeah.
So let's say I'm a creator and I decide this is for me. I'm on YouTube, I'm on TikTok, but I realize there are some videos that I could monetize because they're really good. Where would you suggest they start?
Well, they would come and they create an account on VidaFair, and then they go to our menu, and we have a menu item called Content Creator. In fact, let me back up. The first place they could really start even before that is go to our website and go to the menu. And at the bottom, there's something called Earnings Calculator. And there they can basically just put in the duration of their content. If it's 10 minutes, if it's 20 minutes, if it's 5 minutes, if it's an hour, whatever it is.
Right.
And then they put in the amount they want to make on each rental. They say, here's what I would want to make on each rental. And they get to see then what the a la carte retail price would be for someone who's a fan of theirs, a social media followers of theirs, what it would cost just to one-off rent that one video. And they also see what we call the grain token price, which is for the volume users, how much that price would be. And they can then estimate the number of views in 1 year, for example. Like, gee, I think at this price point, maybe I'd get, 500 people to rent it, or 100, or 50, or 10,000. I don't know how many followers they have on social media, but they can basically then play with their own pricing based on the duration of their content, and then look at how much they would make based on that. All those particulars. So that would be the first place, is just go to our earnings calculator, put in these numbers, and get an idea for what, if I charged this and rented this many, I would personally net this amount, et cetera. And this would be the retail price.
A creator does that.
Okay.
And they upload. Actually, I'm going to digress a second, because I was looking at the different categories you have.
Okay.
There's film drama, film romance, comedy, film documentary, music videos, podcasts. There's a lot more, but I did the list. Is there an other? So if you,
the categories, I should say, are evolving, John. Yeah, okay. We certainly, like I was just explaining to you, we want to keep adding, we have no category right now for this bicycle guy. So yes, it's not so much it would be called other, it's that it would still appear on our homepage. There's an algorithm that determines which videos are presented to users on the homepage. So even if they were completely new, I don't know, somebody does a video. What's a crazy category, John, that you think that would be?
Oh, I mean, bike tricks, skateboarding, surfing. Somebody has a GoPro and they want to do a surfing channel.
Okay. They don't sound that crazy to me, but anyway, maybe I'm crazier than you are. The surfing guy does, we don't have any surf videos, but he goes, look, I got 10,000 followers on Instagram, and I got this many followers on X or on Facebook or whatever. I got my video, and they go to content creator on our drop down after they make a basic account. We just need someone's email address, and they create a password, and then they make an account, and then they would upload it. Basically, it used to be free when we launched. Now it's still literally $2, one-time charge of $2 to upload. And that's if you pay a la carte. If you buy our grain tokens, it's only $1. But anyway, so it's a negligible upload fee. And then they get a link that they can send they can put it on email blasts, they can put it on websites, they can put it on their social media, they can even advertise it. These days, it's not like the old advertising days. What, Mad what's it called? That TV show,
Mad Men.
Mad Men. It's not like I don't know why I blanked on that. It's not like the Mad Men days where you need some sort of, guys in suits somewhere to buy ads for something. You can try $10 worth of advertising on a link with your film or your surfing video and see, all you got to make is, if you spend $10 and you end up making $11 out of your $10 ad buy, you can scale. Like you're good to go. You can just kind of keep that going and you're profitable. So yes, you get a link, in other words, to your own content or your own channel on VidaFair, and you can promote that, advertise that, etc. And every time someone rents it, you get paid the amount you set for yourself.
The last minute or so you had anticipated my next question was, how do creators promote it? And it sounds like largely on their social media channels.
That's the free way. They can again, they can email blast it. But they can also. I think the advertising piece is something many people haven't thought of. We're a monetization platform, and there's an era when kind of everyone I knew thought all content should be free. Like pay for content, that's crazy. There's a psychological thing that we're trying, that we need to overcome somewhat, which is the idea that, like, oh well, I'll pay for a movie with celebrities in it that's, big studio film. That I'll pay for because they sort of, or maybe a comedy special by Dave Chappelle or Bill Burr, somebody that they think of as famous. That seems to be a thing they're happy to pay for. We're increasingly finding people paying super chats, by the way, on YouTube to people they follow on YouTube. So they're increasingly comfortable with that. But yes, this would be kind of a different paradigm for monetization to some degree. But yes, it would be to get their followers who follow them and say, look, you're supporting me by paying for, by renting my content. Here's, you get my free content every week on YouTube or on Instagram or something else. Well, if you want to support me further, and no different really than how Patreon markets itself, it's just a subscription version. And that's sometimes people think of us as that kind of the pay-per-view Patreon.
Except it's a la carte. So it's that's always the thing that's troubled me with Patreon is all or nothing.
Exactly.
You don't want that much.
Exactly. Here you can pay $1, $2, whatever. You're directly supporting an artist. And incidentally, people often ask us, they'll be like, what percentage do you get? We started on that basis. We're like, well, we should charge 1%. They'll set the fee and then we'll take 1%. And then we thought, but that's actually not the fairest way to structure it. If you go back to my blank canvas idea, like, why should we be paid based on how much they charge? If person A charges double person B and they're both 10-minute videos, why should we get more from person A if we're doing the same amount of service that we're doing to person B? We should charge based on our costs. Our platform fee, in other words, is based on the duration of the content. It has nothing to do with the creator's fee that they set. They set their own fee, whatever they want, and our fee is based purely on the file size. So we're not a percentage, in other words.
One of the early problems YouTube had, and still has, frankly, are copyrighted content where somebody's ripping somebody else off. Have you had that problem yet? And if somebody feels that another creator has ripped them off, what processes do you go through?
So we have, I had a list of things, John, I was going to say, here are the blank canvas things we were going to offer content creators to say, like, we wanted this to be the fairest to you. And one of the items on there was no censorship, or if you want to call it thought police, or if you want to call it whatever, like we want to be a free speech platform. Okay. And so, but we do have some flags that users can flag content for. So we have 5 of them. Basically, we're no porn. We're a no porn site. No copyright infringement, as you just cited. We don't want someone uploading the new Avatar movie and charging for it or something. No child abuse, no doxing, no personal threats. But apart from that, we are kind of a no anti-censorship kind of free speech, like free open ideas kind of platform. But yes, copyright infringement is one of the flags that if a user sees something, they can flag the content, and then that tells us to take a look.
Well, I think the no porn was a really good decision because that's what killed Daily Motion. Is they allowed,
really?
Essentially, because
Okay.
parents couldn't let their kids go on to the platform, where if you don't have to worry about that, you don't have to monitor 24/7 on what they're watching.
Well, another take on that is something someone just told me. Now, this is just hearsay. I don't know. I'm not saying I know this to be true, but I was told that the original OnlyFans business model was essentially what we're doing, and they figured out they could make money much faster by going kind of the sex route. So,
Yeah.
whatever. That's not kind of the route we're taking, but
No, I mean it is a very niche. You have to decide, what your lane is. Because if you veer into, I mean, I will tell clients that are on Instagram, once you take your clothes off, you can't put them back on because it's a different following. It's you just have to decide what you're going to be.
yeah,
I'm not judging the people that are on OnlyFans, but that is a conscious decision that you're not then not likely going to have a cooking show, or not.
right, exactly. Exactly.
Um,
And from the beginning, I wanted to be the YouTube where you could make money. The YouTube where you could set your own. And yes, technically you can make money on YouTube through advertising monetization, but you get on average less than 2/10 of 1 penny per view. It's like the average is 0.18 cents per view. So, 5 views is less than 1 penny
right.
on
I
YouTube.
mean, that's
Whereas
what so
here,
many people
imagine on
think
our
that
platform, you could charge $1,
yeah,
$2, whatever you want per view.
per
So
view.
it's quite a bit different. But yeah,
Yeah.
so apart from
So
that, yes, we wanted to be the YouTube that has monetization.
I want you to put on your prediction hat. Where do you see yourself in a year? Where do you see yourself in 3 years?
Well, I would say that in a year we will have hopefully gotten so we have great content now. We have award-winning films now. I'm proud of it. We don't really have anything famous right now. I would hope that in a year we have a few, whether they're famous comedians, famous surfers, skateboarders, famous investment advisors, somebody with a large following, call it 500,000 up, something like that. That's where I want to be. I want to have at least a handful of those, let's say a dozen in a year. And then, 3 years from that, we could just scale it. I don't know. Let's if we ought to triple or quintuple, something like that in 3 years.
So I'm curious, how do you consume your content? Where do you go for content?
I like a lot of people. I watch a lot of YouTube. I have no problem with YouTube as a business
Yeah.
model. I think there should just be another option for monetized content. So yeah, I would say, and I have a big 85-inch TV that I probably consume most of my content on. And so is that what you were asking?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was asking.
Okay. I mean, yeah,
Um,
I got the iPhone,
yeah. Um, Second to the last question. What should have I asked you that I didn't?
Hmm. Uh, well, um, I think what's been holding us back. Really, maybe I'm a bad marketer to even bring that up. I should just say everything's straight upward and
Yeah.
hockey stick to the sky. But I would say to some extent there is just primarily, of course, most people haven't heard of us at all. So that maybe let's start with that. But that but that I think that there's a reluctance to put your credit card onto any platform you've never heard of. Like usually your friends are all, like tell you about, I don't know. So there's, I think that's a barrier. There's some psychological barriers that we have to prove credibility. There'll be times that we'll be kind of promoting ourselves on Facebook sites for filmmakers or whatnot. And people say, like, some people will be like, like wondering if it's a scam, like they'll say, for example, oh, you have these tokens, these grain tokens, which is, you just buy them. You could buy them for $6 or $11 or $20, bigger batches. And people will be like, oh, so you've created a currency? You're like, this sounds like a cryptocurrency scam. And we're like, no, it's not. It's not a currency. Currencies trade separate from the dollar. Like you could have a Bitcoin dollar chart. You could have a Euro dollar chart. We're a token. We're priced in dollars. We are not a currency. And so there is a certain degree of skepticism of just a platform people haven't heard of that does involve money. And so hopefully, I guess, and my solution to the problem I just laid out is if we have enough famous people coming along, or not even super famous, but somewhat known people posting content, that will help resolve that skepticism.
Right. And then where can people find you in the App Store and on the internet?
So VidaFair or VidaFair, again, I said it's a maybe we had a name that could be pronounced two ways, but it's just 8 letters, VIDA, like Vida, like life, and then Fair, FAIR. So that's on the Google Play, it's on the App Store, and it's also, if you put .com after VIDA, FAIR, that's our website.
Well, thank you. I'll be right back.
That's it for this time. If you enjoyed our podcast, please write a review on iTunes and tell your friends to subscribe. If you have any questions about influencers or suggestions for future episodes, email them to John at Pfeiffer@pfeifferlaw.com. Thank you for listening.